Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also known by BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county sheriff. It's in the state of Tennessee. Today's date is Monday morning, August the 24th, 2026. Time, 10:30 a.m. First, I think of my family, my support for you, continue to support. I'll continue to keep myself employed in this Memphis tri-state area. I'll continue to further my education by continuing to pursue my associate degree, studying business administration, concentration in marketing. At the present time, take a break and go to school. In the future, I do intend to go back to school and continue to work toward earning my associate degree in business administration, concentration in marketing, as well as other degrees. Now, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to start my Facebook Live. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also known as BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county sheriff, state of Tennessee. Today's date, Monday morning, August the 24th, 2026. Time, 10:32 a.m. First, I thank my family, my support for you. Continue to support. Continue to keep myself employed in this Memphis tri-state area and continue to further my education by continuing to pursue my associate degree, studying business administration, contracting, and marketing. At the present time, I took a break from going to school. In the future, I do intend to go back to school and continue to work toward earning my associate degree, studying business administration, contracting, and marketing, as well as other degrees. First, I want to say thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, for all the blessings and the guides He provides us all with. Continue to pray about natural disasters. And continue to pray about wars that are being fought. And continue to pray. Now, okay, now I dropped my little notes here, but gonna read a few verses from the Holy Bible. We're going to go to the book of Genesis. Now, first, we read from the Holy Bible, King James Version of the Holy Bible. We're going to go to the book of Genesis. That's in the Old Testament. Book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse number 1. Because, as you know, some ignorant individuals trying to claim that it's two gods. The Gnostics, the so-called Gnostics. And talking about the material world, even talking about this mitigated dualism, where there's, one supposedly one God is superior and the other one's inferior, in the so-called inferior deity was a clumsy, ignorant deity who supposedly made the material world, and the material world is evil. Now, we're in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse number 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. We just read from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse number 1. Now we have a reference. So let's go to the New Testament, to the book of John. We're going to read from chapter 1, starting at verse number 1. We're going to read 1 through 5. Now, we're in the New Testament. We're in the Gospel of John. Chapter 1, we're going to read verses 1 through 5. So we're going to start at verse number 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. So we just read from the book of John, the Gospel of John, in the New Testament, chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. Ain't nobody bagging down from no so-called Gnostic with no mitigated dualism. Ten toes down. They ain't bagging down, they ain't bound down. Now, we're going to continue. We got some more verses. We're going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 20. We're going to read verses 1 through 17. We're in the Old Testament. Go to the book of Exodus, chapter 20. And we're going to read verses 1 through 17. Starting at verse number 1. And it reads, And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy manservant nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Not bowing down, not begging down. We just read from the book of Exodus in the Old Testament, chapter 20, verses 1 through 17. Got some more verses. Go to the book of, we're in the Old Testament. Go to the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 4. The book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 4. In the Old Testament. Deuteronomy chapter 4. We're going to read 2 verses. We're going to start at verse 35. We're going to also read verse 39. We're not bagging down. Not bagging down. Like I said, we're not bagging down. We're going to stand our ground. We're going to stand on God's word. Talking about some mitigated dualism. All right. We're in the Old Testament. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4. We're going to read verse 35 first. And we're going to also read verse 39. All right. And it reads, unto thee it was shewed that thou mightest know that the Lord, He is God. There is none else beside Him. We ain't bound down to no mitigated dualism. No. We ain't bound down to no or anything else. Now, where we at? We just read Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 35. So we're going to read verse 39. We ain't bound down to no mitigated dualism or anything else. Now we in verse 39. Know therefore this day and consider it in thine heart that the Lord, he is God in heaven above and upon the earth beneath. There's no one else. We ain't bound down. We ain't bound down no mitigated dualism or anything else. So we just read from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, and we read verse 35 first, and then we read verse 39. We ain't bound down. Now, we got a reference. Let's go to we still in the Old Testament. We're going to the book of Joshua. They ain't bound down. I don't care what you say. Because this day, woo! Now, we're in the Old Testament, the book of Joshua. Chapter 2. We read verse number 11. And it reads, and as soon as we heard these things, our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. So we just read in the Old Testament from the book of Joshua, chapter 2, and we read verse number 11. There ain't no bound down here to no mitigated dualism. We ain't bound down to nothing to anything else. Now, where we at? Okay. What else? We coming with it. Ain't bound now. All right. We're going back to Deuteronomy, chapter 6. So let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6. They're going to read verse number 4. We ain't bound down. Talking about it's a rivalry. It's a God up here and a God down here, mitigated dualism. No, hey, what did it say? What the word of God said? He said, "There's none else, none else." We're in Deuteronomy in the Old Testament. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse number 4, and it reads, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord." Whoa! Hear, O Israel, the The Lord our God is one Lord. Amen. There we go. Now, I got the Bible sitting up here, and the Bible was hitting the cord. But we in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse number 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. We ain't bowing down no polytheists. We ain't bowing down no duelists or anything else. So we just read in the Old Testament from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse number 4. What else you got? Come on with it. We're going to the New Testament. Oh, yeah. We're going to the New Testament. We're going to the New Testament. There ain't no bowing down. We ain't bagging down. Coming straight from God's Word. We're in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians, chapter 8. We're going to read 2 verses in chapter 8 in 1 Corinthians. We're going to read verse number 4 first, and then we're going to read verse number 6. Because we ain't no bagging down, ain't no bowing down to no mitigated dualism, ain't bagging down to anything else. We're in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. We're going to read verse number 4. And verse number 6. So let's start at verse number 4. And it reads, as concerning, therefore, the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in this world, and that there is none other God but one. Amen. So, we on this. Ain't no bowing down. So we just read. First Corinthians chapter 8, verse number 4. Read verse number 6. But to us, there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. So we just read in the New Testament, 1 Corinthians, chapter 8. We started with verse number 4, and we just read verse number 6. Ain't no bowing down. Ain't backing down. No mitigated dualism or anything else. All right. I might have to take a little pause here. Hold on. I'm gonna have to pause. I'm gonna pause just for a brief moment. So just give me a brief moment here. Okay. Like I said, I paused, had to pause. So my YouTube channel is still running. So it's gonna still just be one YouTube so far. Just one YouTube page, part. But on my Facebook Live, I had to end it, because it didn't pause. So it's going to be a part 1 and part 2 on today's Facebook Live. But I got those verses read. Corinthians. Let me see. Now, let me read this. So before I pause my video, we was in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 4 and 6. So let's go to the book of Deuteronomy in the Old Testament. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32. Verses 39 through 43. And it reads, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. If I wet my glittering sword and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies and will reward them that hate me. I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and then with the blood of the slain and of the captives, from the beginning of revenge is upon the enemy. Rejoice, O ye nations, with his people. For he will avenge the blood of his servants and will render vengeance to his adversaries and will be merciful unto his land and to his people. So we just read in the Old Testament from the book of Deuteronomy. What's it? Chapter 32, verses 39 through 43. Not going to bag down, not going to bow down to no mitigated dualism or anything else. It's only one God. One God. One God. So like I said, you know, I had to pause. I had to pause my video. Now, my YouTube video is gonna still just be one YouTube video, but my Facebook Live is gonna be a part 1 and part 2 because no pause, so I had to like finish it and start back over. So it's gonna be a part 1 and part 2 on my Facebook Live video. Now, don't forget Rabbi Akiva. So like I said, don't forget Rabbi Akiva. And go continue to talk about prehistoric religion, as well as African traditional religion, traditional African religion, you know, ancient African religion, as well as animism, shamanism. So, like I said, we're gonna continue to talk about prehistoric religion. Gonna continue to talk about African traditional religion or traditional African religion, ancient African religion. Gonna continue to talk about animism, shamanism, and gonna continue to talk about the things because those things are important. Information that's contained in the discussion is very important. And so, like I said, we're gonna continue to talk about the prehistoric religion now, and the scientists say Paleolithic. There was a Paleolithic period, like the Stone Age period. Then then they had the Neolithic, but there was another one like in between. What was that called? the Mesolithic. And the Mesolithic was the transitional period between the Paleolithic and the Neolithic. Okay. Well, like I said, that's the reason why, when you have this much, like, information, you don't just, take it, and go fast. It's important. And it's a lot of things to cover. And so, like I said, when we talk about the Paleolithic, And so let me see here. And so let me now during the middle Paleolithic was the era of conterminous Neanderthal and Homo sapiens sapiens, or anatomical modern humans. Habitation. Homo sapiens sapiens originated in Africa and Neanderthals in Eurasia. Over the course of the period, Homo sapiens sapiens range expanded to areas formerly dominated by Neanderthals. Eventually supplanting them and ushering in the upper Paleolithic. And so, like I said, we're going to continue to talk about prehistoric religion indefinitely, as well as African traditional religion, traditional African religion, ancient African religion, animism, shamanism, and so on and so forth. And so, like I said, that that's gonna be an in-depth discussion. Today gonna be one of them days where my video ain't gonna be long today. But usually I try to at least get 3 hours in, but and so. Like I said, today, more likely a few more minutes, I probably just gone end today's video. But I still was able to make my video today. Like I said, I had to pause my video, I had to pause my video, and so my YouTube video still gonna be, one video, but my Facebook Live, I had to pause it, and when I, had to finish it, so it's gonna be a part 1 and part 2 on my Facebook Live. And so, it was something that was, got my attention. Sometimes we watch TV, and, sometimes you don't even be thinking about something, and then, but, sometimes just things just can be on television, or it could be the radio, or it could be a book or a magazine. I just haven't been watching TV, and hadn't even paid any attention. But how sometimes you see TV commercials, these lawyers, and like injury lawyers and law firms. Now in this day and time, with all these car accidents and stuff, and just injury lawyers, but. I just happened to been sitting, just they had the TV on, one paying no, nothing, wasn't even looking for nothing. Because if it was something I was looking for, I could have just went on use, because it just came online. But just happened to just been sitting there, had the TV on, and one of them TV commercials came on, and that matter of fact, it was like some kind of lawsuit about some kind of product that was made. And so and sometimes we see those type of commercials, like commercials like for what they call it, mesothelioma, and asbestos, and so it was like one of them type of commercials about some kind of product, some like airbags, lawsuits. If you've been injured and got some kind of injury, even though the airbag might have actually saved your life, but still, the airbag might have caused some kind of injury. So it's going to be some, call this law firm. And then I kind of got took by surprise by one of these things. I kind of get, because, so many products, some kind of, so many type of things they get brought up, They brought up something about some kind of surgery or something. It was some kind of surgery. Was it cervical cancer or something like that? I had seen something like that too, some kind of cervical surgery, cancer and all that, But this one kind of took me by surprise. But I hadn't heard, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I hadn't heard things like this. It's like when you be cooking. And I'm probably certain you probably heard it too. Like with the skillet. Or with the frying pan, the frying pan. And like it's all kind of lawsuits, like lead poisoning lawsuits and they had one of these lawsuits on there. The barbecue grill. And when you use the barbecue grill, eventually you got to clean it. You got to clean it. And so pretty much similar to like the skillet. When you be cooking your eggs or whatever you cooking, that's just one of the things that they was talking about when they was talking about the like when you cooking your eggs in a skillet, and when the thing be like when they just say your fork or your spatula or whatever utensil you using, to cook with, they saying that the little particles from the skillet gets in the food and then gets in your body. And because it gets in your body, because of the material that the pan, the frying pan or skillet, whatever it's made out of, it gets in your body. And it's been found, it has been actually research has found that was the cause of some kind of cancer. That I'm talking about, they actually, but see, this is what they did. Products get tested and materials get tested. And that's one of the ways, because, all of us as human beings and all of us who live, daggone well, trying to prove, right now, me, doggone well, if I contact an attorney, and as long as I've been living, they talking about checking my body, and many times I went to the VA, and they draw my blood, I don't have no cancer, because I asked my doctor, I even asked my primary care doctor, when they draw my blood, my primary care doctor said one of the tests that they do on me at the VA is they trying to see if there's some early detection of cancer in your blood. So, me, me, so far, and then I done already had the prostate exam, I done already had the colonoscopy, I had that done. I done already had the prostate. Yeah, I done had the prostate cancer done. I'm good. Hey, I'm good on that. And so, I need to go to the dentist. I know I need to go to the dentist. I got a chipped tooth right here, and I just need to go to the dentist. But on that note, is it something that might be in your bloodstream because you might have ate something that might contain maybe some part. But hey, since I've been going to the VA, they ain't find my blood test don't show no signs of cancer, in my blood. So, but what I'm saying is this: when how the government and do tests and all kind of universities and stuff do tests. So they when some of these law firms and stuff, when you cook your eggs or whatever you cooking, and you've been pecking on that skillet, sometimes you use a fork, scrambling your eggs or fried eggs or what, that's one of the things we cook, like steak, whatever. But they say that the thing that when you be pecking on that skillet, some of the particles was getting in the food, and apparently some people have actually been diagnosed, so the products, some kind of lawsuit. So this is one of them things we were talking about, the barbecue grill. Kind of took me by surprise, but I'm kind of familiar, it kind of took me by surprise. I was like, But hey, sometimes they do tests, and you got to clean the barbecue grill. But then that when you clean the barbecue grill, same thing. When you clean the barbecue grill, you use that brush. I'm talking about that, it's like some kind of little metal brush, to clean your barbecue grill. Well, apparently, when you clean the barbecue grill, whatever you might be using the SOS pad. You might not even use the brush. You might wait until the grill, the grill to cool all the way down. You might have used the SOS pad or whatever you use. But they were particularly talking about that wire brush on this particular lawsuit. It was saying that this wire brush, whatever, irregardless of what brand, they were just saying if you're using some kind of wire brush, they ain't say no particular brand. They were just saying the method of cleaning your barbecue grill. When you use that metal brush, you know, the particles can be on the grill, still on the grill, and can get in your body. Now, you know, we sitting here like, that reason why I kind of said I was kind of shocked. I was like, yeah, and I ain't gonna say shocked, but it kind of took me by surprise. I was like, barbecue grill? You know, because, you know, sometimes, some things we don't really, you know, we don't think about it. You know, it's just like the skillet. There was a time when we didn't even think nothing about it. But I'm going to tell you the reason why. And then I'm going to get back to when we were talking about cocaine and heroin. See, that's the reason why I was talking about the same thing, about doing research about marijuana. That's the reason why. Because when we talk about products, just like the airbag, you know, the automobile industry, the crash dummy. And we trust. And first of all, the United States government got regulations. Got regulations. Because it's the law. First of all, you got to wear a seatbelt. It's the law. So you know, when they do tests, the material that they make the seatbelt out of, regardless of what car brand, the United States government, as well as all governments around the world, got laws about safety. About safety. Every part of that car is about safety. The fuel that you use, you know, you can't even go to the gas station about a warning being on there about smoking cigarettes, which I'm glad. I'm glad they passed laws about putting the babies in the car, you know, in the baby carriage, and then putting it in the seatbelt, because you know, and I know, car accidents, the doggone baby carriage then flew out the window in a car accident. So you got to buckle up. At certain age, even certain age, you cannot ride in a car. Period. You got to have a seatbelt on. You got to buckle the children up. You know, because any and everybody in the vehicle can die. And we don't even want to get drunk driving and all that. You know, it's all about, you know, safety. But you know, the federal government, we trust. You know, it's unfortunate that it took people actually dying, and having serious injuries for laws to get passed. Because that's the same thing about drinking and driving. You know and I know, we all know, before the federal government passed here in the United States of America, before the United States government passed the laws about seat belts, about lights, your windshield wiper, anytime it rains, not only do you turn your windshield wipers on, but you got to turn your lights on, because it can cause an accident. If it's fog outside, you got lights, you got to turn your lights on in the fog. It's the law. It's the law. If you're driving at night, damn it, you know you got to turn your lights on. Sometimes I done forget. I actually got in the car, cranked the car up, and started driving. Forgot to turn my lights on. Hey, not just once, numerous occasions. I'm driving, other drivers on the other side of the road flicking their lights, trying to get my attention. Trying to tell, okay, man, I forgot to. Hey, will you put? No, I didn't. No, I ain't say nothing. Road rage at night at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Road rage. No, I didn't say nothing. No, but I'm just saying, you know, it's the law to be safe, because it's safety. Other drivers can't see you. You driving at night, and then you know certain color the lights. You know, you think the black lights got to be red. Your front lights got to be clear, so But it's all about safety. So, like I said about the pan and all that, getting to testing and stuff, and about being safety and trust, and it's important. And that what really got my attention. I was like, when we were talking about the pan, right, in the barbecue grill, think about all the tests that the federal government, the laws have already been passed to try to make this product safe. And apparently it had to be safe. Think about it. For it to be sold. For the barbecue grill and all the parts that make that barbecue, that brand. Because you got different brands, but just the idea that irregardless of what brand of barbecue grill, when you use it, eventually you're going to have to clean it. Eventually you're going to have to clean your grill. That rack in there, you're going to have to clean it. That charcoal and whatever else you use for fuel, you're going to have to clean that barbecue grill. And that's what, that's what they were talking about, the rack. When you clean your barbecue grill, we ain't even got to the charcoal and all that. Ain't no telling what they going, what's going to come up next. When you clean out the barbecue grill and you standing there, I'm quite certain that some kind of issue going to come up about the dust. You know what I'm talking about, the charcoal, and when you in there scraping and some of the dust stuff gets in the air, and then you standing there getting it out, and some of it got into your system, then got into your bloodstream. But you know and I know that when it comes to government regulations, first of all, this is the United States of America. That product has been considered to be safe for the consumer. It's been considered safe for the consumer. So as a consumer, you trust the United States government. You trust the United States government that the product is safe. So when it comes to the barbecue grill or the skillet or products in general, we consider it to be safe. Because the United States government, the federal government, got standards on safety, consumer safety, and then the consumer ain't gonna trust you if it's something that like that. It's just like the automobile. And I know every brand of automobile. That's the first thing. That's one of the big things they advertise in order to compete with each other is safety. Every car brand, no matter first of all, them expensive cars, you seen that Mercedes-Benz, and I know. Mercedes-Benz, when you watch a Mercedes-Benz commercial, I know. The first thing they talk about is safety. Because they got to compete with all the other car brands. And the consumer, one of the things about a luxury car and all the value of the car, and the reason why, one of the reasons why it's expensive is because of the standards, the safety standards. The safety standards. But the government, in order to promote, not trying to choose some product over others, have standards for all products, regardless of the brand. But the vehicle, the brand, they gonna compete. And so the reason, one of the reasons why the automobile brand is more expensive than others is this. The safety. That it might be a sports car, it might be a luxury sedan, like a Rolls Royce. Let's just say Rolls Royce. Now and I know, when you look at a Rolls Royce and the way it's designed, if you look at a Rolls Royce, and then you look at another car like one of these sports cars, like Ferrari, they don't look nothing alike. And I know two different brands. They both considered to be, here in the United States of America, them cars are expensive. a Ferrari, a Rolls Royce, and we can go on naming all, but one of the things these cars, they got to be safe. They got to go through the same test, talking about rollovers and the airbag, the seat belts, the engine catch on fire. Safety. Because how can a vehicle be that expensive and not be safe? See what I'm talking about? But see, the United States government, as well as other governments, like the Rolls Royce, whatever country it come from, wherever that Ferrari came from, that government got standards too. So that's what we were talking about. See, when you do research, it means the same thing for prescription drugs, vitamins, they're like when you take a hit, you got a headache, and that medication is specifically for headaches. Now that's their brand. They might make other medication, like for specifically for women, like when they had I'm talking about when a woman, that time in the month, that same brand, they make something for headaches, which is general for men, women, even for little children. Then they also have some specifically for, like for women. Then they also might have some for pain, just not for specific for headache, but for pain. The same brand. See, and it's all been tested. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, here in the United States of America, but also the World Health Organization, the international community, other nations around the world. These products get tested in order for that product to be not just be sold here in America, but it can be sold in other countries. Other countries got standards about the medication and the procedure. If you get a prescription or some kind of procedure. See, this is what we were talking about. And see, that's what we, just like now, just like we were talking about the skillet, the barbecue grill, think about marijuana. See, that's what I was trying to say about the marijuana. See, for some years, marijuana has been considered to be one of them drugs that people just use to get high. In every way in the way that they use it to get high is that the marijuana is something that grows in the ground, and then it gets harvested, and then you smoke it. Majority of ways that people got high on marijuana is smoking. Irregardless how big, whatever size, but that's what people did. That was the reason why people use marijuana to get high. Later on, research, not enough research, but research in general, found that marijuana could be used like for medicinal purpose. Some kind of pain. It can help you with pain. It didn't necessarily cure. Like I heard some people, what marijuana, like people with vision problems, like what they glaucoma or something, and that's one thing that marijuana was used to help people. What I mentioned was that they need to continue to do more research because what you're trying to say is that form of medical assistance there should be more research, because to say that that's the only thing that couldn't be true. Because there's always some, it's just you know, and I know it's always something that you can do. We see people do it all the time. That's where methamphetamines came from. But see, they had to take all this other stuff that's already been made into a product, and then you take all that other stuff to make some junk called methamphetamine, which is, you don't know what that junk is. But to say that that's what marijuana and that's the only thing you can do, then that couldn't, and I know that couldn't be true, because you already smoked it, and now it's already legal. So that ain't necessarily no medicinal purpose. It's being used for people for recreate. They just say people get high, just like you go buy a beer. You want to sit around the house and drink a beer. That's the same thing a person do with marijuana. They sit around and smoke weed. Person go to the liquor store and buy some liquor. They sit around and they go to a bar and sit around and get drunk. That's the same thing people do with marijuana. They sit around and get high. That's all you can do with it. But you do more research, I guarantee you'll find some more uses, meaningful uses. It's already being seen that it can be used in the medical profession. It can be used for medical purposes. And I guarantee that's not the only medical purpose that it can be used, but you have to do what? You have to do research, because the government got standards. See, don't be surprised. See, watch this. Watch this. You know and I know, the law firm. Don't be surprised Don't be surprised that the United States government has said that marijuana, don't be surprised now. The United States government has said that marijuana could be used for medicinal purpose, just like anything else. You remember that when they had that mesh, what they call that mesh thing? I think it was for heart, like bypass or some kind of mesh thing. Well, the United States government had already tested the thing. It go through tests. And it already approved for their procedure to be done. However, later on, like a lot of things, law firms, some kind of complication, some kind of mishap, some kind of illness as a result of some kind of product that was used. And that includes medicine too. You know and I know. The law firm got lawsuits now pending. Some have already been approved because some kind of medication that was already tested and approved, later on, it was proven through tests that product was the cause of some kind of death or illness think about birth defects. Some kind of medicine or some kind of procedure that when the woman was pregnant, it's been proven that some kind of medication, some kind of procedure was the cause of a birth defect or death of the mother or the mother and the child. You know what I'm saying? But it was already proven. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised later on when you hear a law firm say, hey, the marijuana has been given the green light. It's legal, just like alcohol legal. It's been said to be legal by the United States government because, you know, in some places, in some states. But it's going to, eventually, it's going to be legal. And it's going to be some kind of court case. And it's going to be found out that the marijuana was the cause of some kind of illness, may have been even the cause of death, and so it's going to be some kind of compensation for victims, and so on and so forth. But despite the fact that the lawsuit and all that, you know, it's legal and everything, you know, the United States government had to deal with, you know, but that's the same thing about marijuana, alcohol, cocaine, heroin. You need to do research. Need research. Tobacco, need research. Because you saying that the way that tobacco is used, not saying that, you know, to say that that's the only use of tobacco, that, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm quite certain that you do research. I'm quite certain there are many other uses for tobacco, but you got to do research. To say that it can only be, as a matter of fact, who said that that was its for? Who told you that tobacco was put on this earth and that's what it's used for? To smoke. Because that's, as of right now, that's the only thing people do with tobacco. Cigarettes and cigars and chewing tobacco. Who told you that? Who said that that's the only thing you can do with tobacco? Who said that? You got to do research. You have to do research. And that really was needed. Because how did you come up with this stupid, all this getting high, and then you hear somebody talking about some opioid addiction? You could never be a millionaire with no opioid addiction when all your customers die from overdose. You ain't gonna never get rich. Because every time you get a customer, they end up overdosing. They overdose. Every damn person that use opioid, even the people that wasn't even trying to be an addict, they either committed suicide, they died from some kind of addiction, they overdosed. Now apparently today, because of research, they have an alternative something to address the issue of the opioid addiction. But they took research. The fentanyl, it took research. Because the people committing, are dying from overdosing. You ain't gonna never show me no drug pusher that's rich and all your customers die from overdosing. Yeah, they only bought some drugs one time and died. That you could never, that don't sound right. That don't even make logical sense. All these people dying from overdosing. But see, it took research for them to. I did see something recently where they were saying something about the opioid and saying there was something that they had done to address the opioid being addictive. Because it really was started out, it was really supposed to be something like for pain. When they say opioid, it means it got some kind of opium in it. One of them products from opium. Like heroin. Just like cocaine. You got products, morphine, codeine, that come from cocaine. From the coca plant. So, but research, even research on that, it just needs to be more research, because you're trying to say like that's the only thing that can be. No, what needs to be done, it needs to be researched. That's what contributing to the drug trafficking, is that it's not enough research for other goods and services. And that will contribute to the illegal activity. Is that the government not saying, look, people could invest in goods and services. Research has been done. It can be used for goods and services, such as blah, 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 based on research. And then more research to be done on testing and the products, the product, the good and the service. But so that's what I was getting to, is that it was just like the barbecue grill. It take research, and then based on that research, like the airbag and everything else, unfortunately somebody had to be an accident or something for the airbag recall, and despite the fact that the U.S. government, the crash dummies and all that, the car brand and the car brands that use that particular part on the car, because sometimes some parts are not just on one car brand, it be on other car brands, because the company that actually manufactured that particular product is in more than one car brand. For instance, the airbag. And then it'd be all kind of other parts, they be used. And then just like this house, it can be a light bulb, it can, all kind of stuff. But then it'd be some kind of recall. And, but like I said, I made my video, so, But it's, my Facebook Live gonna be part 1 and part 2. Right now in part 2, you know. But so far my YouTube, I ain't had to actually end it. I was able to pause it, but that's the reason why it'd be a part 2 on my Facebook Live, because I had to just finish it. So, but no problem. I think in about 10 minutes I'm gonna go ahead and cut out. About 10 more minutes, it'll be 2 hours. So, but like I said, we just need more. We need more research, because that should open your eyes when you hear about people like these if it ain't something natural, like marijuana, if it ain't something that's natural. Now, coca plants and all that opium type stuff, and I know that stuff is something that in the wild, but that stuff, that man-made stuff, you know that trust. If you go to, and I know, you go to the store, the corner grocery store, or to your supermarket, Walmart, whatever, Sam's Club, whatever. Do Target sell liquor? I ain't been on. I think they do. I think they sell beer. But I know last time I went to a Target, it was down in Mississippi, so I think the Target, because I know they said they sell food, so I'm quite certain they gonna sell some beer, and probably sell wine now that it is legal, but all that stuff, you trust. That trust. It's just like marijuana. Think about it. Because I'm going to be, back in the day, when I was growing up, see some things like that, it was pretty available. It was plenty, like it was plenty. Because some people grow their own. Marijuana was one of them type of things that sometimes people did their own stuff. They ain't even buying nothing from nobody else. They grow their own stuff. And then sometimes that's who the dealer was. They grow stuff in their own house, in their basement, in their backyard. They grow stuff, When they came, like marijuana, that trust. First of all, if you growing your own marijuana, apparently you trust yourself, In the neighborhood, if you knew somebody, you pretty much trusted that person, that the marijuana, that it wasn't some grass that they had cut. Somebody went out there and cut the yard and then gonna sell you. Gonna sell you. Gonna sell you the grass they cut. Well, but when you go to the liquor store, you go buy some beer. That trust, and I know that anything that's in the store, you pretty much you trust that the product is what it is, and then you pick your brand, because it's a variety of brands in the store, and you get your brand of beer. And if you go to the liquor store, it'll be the same thing. You go to the liquor store, you trust the liquor store, first of all, to be legal, have license and all that, to be operating legally, and that the product that's in the liquor store is quality product. You got your favorite brand of liquor. Man, I'm not finna name all them brands. You go to the liquor store, there's all kind of stuff up in the liquor store. It's all liquor. But that trust, you know, despite, irregardless how, you know, when you pay your money for that liquor, you know, it don't matter about how fast, or, you know, once you paid your money for the reason why you paid your money at that liquor store, it was that trust. And then when that particular brand that you were looking for, you know, you got your taste, you know, whatever brand you were looking for. But that trust that liquor store, the product that's in there, is legitimate product. It's not some, let's just say it was a liquor store. And the liquor that was in there, it was homemade. The person who actually owned the liquor store, they say it's liquor. But when you get inside the liquor store, they tell you that the liquor that they selling, first of all, I made it. I made this is what I made, and I'm selling it. And according to the law, I'm not breaking no law, but I'm just saying, I made it, and this is what I made. And I'm gonna see how long you gonna be up in there, because you gonna have all kind of questions. You made this? You made this? You see how the reaction you get when you walk into a liquor store? You don't even ask no question. I'm gonna tell you what. Only question you probably ask is like, "Hey man, you got such and such? Well, yeah, it's over on aisle. You know, it's on aisle. You know, right there. Yeah, keep walking. Yeah, right there." That's the only question you gonna have. You ain't gonna have nothing else to say. But let it be a liquor. Let it be some homemade stuff. I guarantee you, you gonna be up out of there. You ain't gonna be hanging around. You ain't gonna be too trustful. You ain't gonna have too much confidence. I'm talking about you made it. Yeah, I made this. Is what I made. Yeah. Oh, it's quality. You can trust it. I guarantee you're gonna be all right. You made this? Yeah, I made it. Okay. I'm gonna holler at you. I'll holler at you. I'm gonna go down here. There's another liquor store. There's another liquor store around. I'm gonna go around here. Cause this don't sound right. Talking about you made it. No, see that trust. See, that's the same thing marijuana. See, that's the reason why when you see somebody selling marijuana and they say it's legal now, the medicinal, see, their trust. Their trust that it's not some grass. That you know what I'm saying? That it's not, or it could have been the marijuana. That it's not laced with some cocaine or heroin, because you know and I know that's against the law, or anything else. Some opioid up in there. You know and I know that for the marijuana shop to be open, it better not even be anything that's illegal up in there. Because they going to come, the feds coming. Not just the state, the feds coming. And you better not even think they not watching. And that they ain't got no undercover that'll come up in there and buy some stuff to make sure the DEA coming. But you know and I know, hey, feds ain't stupid to leave no marijuana shop over here and think you gonna pull some crap like that. But see, that's their trust. That's their trust. When people buy product at the marijuana shop, they know that at this marijuana shop, man, first of all, it's marijuana. It ain't nothing else. And that the quantity is right, and that the product itself, the marijuana, is marijuana. It's not something else. See, you pay for what, you know, you get what you pay for. Because the Fed, they don't play that. They don't play that. Mm-mm. So it needs to be more research though. Because to say that that's the only thing you can do with marijuana, and tobacco, and then to say that, when, you know, just like cocaine, you got codeine, morphine, but to say that that's the only thing that can be done, you know, like it ain't no other goods or services, it need to be more research. With cocaine, heroin, and that. See, that's how all that methamphetamine junk get brought in, is when you don't do research, and people, they think they, why would you even trust anybody that's making, no, anything that a man do, and then talking about it's something on the street and it's illegal, ain't no standards, ain't no guidelines, ain't no safety protocol. And you gonna pay for it? You stupid. Because the person that's doing it, they stupid and you stupid. You stupid. Yeah, you stupid. Because you ain't making no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever. All this getting high. Getting high. Well, like I said, man, what am I still, you know, my mind's still on opportunity. It's just, you know, my time, you know, man, trying to make time for my harmony, my blues heart, trying to make time, man, to practice. I know I'm not gonna never be a Sonny Boy Williamson, but I'm gonna have to just make time, just like today. Today's gonna be one of them days. No, not today, because I know I gotta get myself ready. But opportunity though, still, the opportunity's still there. I just gotta practice. Because, you know, blues, R&B, jazz, and then, you know, ragtime is the basis of jazz and blues. And then, of course, you know, R&B came out of the blues, as well as soul, and then gospel with Sam Cooke, my main man, Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke. The man who invented soul. Started out as a gospel singer and went on from there. Started out with the gospel, the soul stirs, and after the soul stirs, he went on. You know, Sam Cooke. But, you know, opportunity, man. You know, and 12-bar blues. See, that's a good thing. My harmonic. See, 12-bar blues, 12-bar blues, 8-bar blues, 16-bar blues, 32-bar form. Opportunity. Oh yeah, opportunity. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I just gotta practice. Just gotta make time to practice, because, you know, I know today not gonna be one of them days. Because soon as I'm gonna have to get myself ready. Just gotta, you know, and, you know, had to make time to practice. But, you know, hey, And then, you know, good thing about it though, like I said, YouTube video, good thing. Because, you know, like we were talking about when we were reading them Bible scriptures, man, that's a good thing. Having YouTube videos and reels and stuff. Because, you know, metaphysics and, you know, YouTube, and then, you know, martial arts video, YouTube video. They were talking about dualism with the yin and the yang and the Taoists and all, you know, all the northern styles and the southern style, you know. But it's a good thing to have a YouTube video. And because when we were talking about this mitigated dualism, see, it's a good thing to have a YouTube video and, you know, reels and things like that. Because when you see videos like the Catholic Church and the Baptist Church, and, you know, you see things like, you know, like we were talking about metaphysics and all that, you know, history and all, you know. Ain't nothing that you talking about a secret. They're talking about history, about ancient people, because you're still talking about the same thing. Because when you talk about dualism, you're talking about way back in BC. Implicit dualism, explicit dualism, you know, moral, you know, dualism, good and evil, and, you know. And so it's important. It's good. It's a good thing. You know, it's a good thing. And so, you know, you just have to take information and use it in the right way. But it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You know. And so, about the time. So like I said, on today's video, I'm going to go ahead and end my video, but it's going to be one YouTube video, but it's going to be two-part Facebook Live, because I had to pause it for a minute, you know. Ain't no problem, you know. It's just I had to answer a phone call, and so, you know, at least that was one of the ones I had to answer. Now, if it had been one of them other phone calls, like about, you know, asking me about some research or something, again, I had to get a joke in. I had to get a joke in. I had to throw one in there. like where can I invest my money? Like, yeah, right here. And next thing you know, you'll see on world news, it was this man in Memphis, Tennessee. He got brought in for scamming. For some kind of scam. Trying to claim you were doing research. He got all the people money, man. He's going to the federal event. But no, I had a phone call, and that was one of them. I had to answer that one. But I'm gonna get ready to. But you know, when we were talking about them verses, see, I was talking about them verses, and one of the things I was gonna do today. You remember when I made my video and the thing, we were talking about the names of God. The names of God. See, when we get that mess straightened out about this dualism, which I, you know, saying mitigated dualism, talking about it's two gods and one is superior and the other is inferior and all this nonsense. And when we read the verses in the Bible, it say, hey, it's only one God and there's none else. They killed it. See, that's the reason why I go straight to Genesis chapter 1, verse number 1. When you say that this so-called dumb, ignorant God made the material world, we go to Genesis chapter 1, verse number 1. That ended it. Because see, it ain't number one God. It's only one God. Only one. And whatever you talking about made and all that, hey, and talking about the God is ignorant and all. We go to Genesis chapter 1, verse number 1. That ended all that. That was the end of all that. That ended it right there. And then we go on with some more verses. You know, we go to Deuteronomy chapter 4 and chapter 6 verses. And then we went to what? Exodus. Then we go back to Deuteronomy. You know, see, them just Old Testament verses. Then we have verses in the Holy Bible in the New Testament. Just like, for example, we have John, the Gospel of John. We go chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. That killed all that mitigated dualism. Anything else you got to bring up. They killed that. That was the end of that. Everything you said about that mitigated dualism, John chapter 1, verses 1 through 5, that was the end of that. That ended all that. See, that ended all that, and anything else you bring up, that was the end of it. Then we go over here to what? In the New Testament, we went to Corinthians chapter 1. Corinthians chapter 8. Chapter 8. Make sure, it was 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians, that's what we were talking about. 1 Corinthians. It was chapter 8. Then we went to verse number 4. That was the end of that mitigating dualism. That was the end of it. See, that's what's being done. When you talk about mitigated dualism, that was the end of it. You ain't got to bow down or bag down. You ain't got to bag down or bow down. That was the end of it. That's the reason why we go to these verses. Because that was the end of it. Then we went to we was in 1 Corinthians chapter 8. Then we went to verse number 6. That's the end of it. And when you ain't talking about nothing, like I've been saying over and over, you ain't talking about shit. You ain't talking about nothing. That was the end of it. Ain't nobody bagging down, ain't bowing down. That was the end of it. See, that's the reason why. See, right, I'm going to say this. Right before I leave. See, in Chicago, conservative white law, that's the reason why I said it a long time. 3 years ago, I told, man, you ain't talking about shit. I told you. I kept telling you. You ain't talking about shit. The Catholic Church already in the 1st century had already refuted Gnosticism. I already told you, man. Way back in the 1st century. Is that hard for you? Is that goddamn hard? No. You just don't know the verses in the Holy Bible. See? And then the Jews, that's the reason why I keep telling you, Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was killed, tortured to death by the polytheists. Well, so? What you mean so? Rabbi Akiva is a monotheist, not a polytheist. One God. One God. The last thing this man said before he died is recorded in history. The last thing he said was the Shema Israel. O Israel, your Lord is one. Then he died. He had been tortured to death. He know This man knew, because he was a rabbi. He's one of the most respected rabbis in Judaism. See, that was in the first, the Bar Kokhba revolt was in the first century. All the way back to the first century. Here it is, 2026. See, that's what I was telling you. To kill Larry Hoover. That's the reason why I told them brothers in the penitentiary, man, kill that bitch, man. Talking about some two gods. You don't know what you talking about. That's what I told you. I'm talking about some black gangster Lou Reed. Like I told you. Talking about some boony black. How hard is it for you to see this dumbass nigga don't know what he's talking about? How hard is it for you to see that he don't know what the hell he's talking about? See? But I'm going to get ready to end today's video. Like I told you, man. The four corner hustle. Like I told you, man. Get your ass over there with the Almighty by the Lord name. That's the reason why I told you, man. That's the reason why I talk the way I talk. Man, get your ass over there with the Almighty by the Lord name and shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, man. And just get your ass over there with the Almighty for that very reason. That's the reason why. Because there wasn't no fucking reason for it to be anything other than what you supposed to. You know? It wasn't no reason. I already got that straightened out. It wasn't even no reason. You talking about some crack cocaine, Monroe, already. They need to do some research. See? Need to do some research. See all this, see, you know the black market economy? That's the reason why. Because this was one thing I want you not to forget. When they were doing all that moonshining, one thing don't forget that you may have that we didn't like go into. But man, prohibition was just here in America. When you seen all these other countries, they were selling liquor, wine, and anything else. In other countries, in Canada, Mexico, Jamaica, Haiti. Who told you that that it was a prohibition in Jamaica? It wasn't. Who told you it was a prohibition in Haiti? No, it wasn't. In Cuba? There wasn't no damn prohibition in Cuba. Or, let me see, Puerto Rico, well, U.S. territory. It's that, you know, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. But hell, Puerto Rico, because Dominican Republic, no. But you know what I mean. The prohibition in the Caribbean, man, there wasn't no goddamn prohibition in Jamaica. They were still selling alcohol. In Cuba? No. Because you got to remember, this is before World War II now. You got to remember, this before World War II. We talking about World War I. The early 1900s, because by the time World War II, I think the prohibition was over. By the time 1940s came, the prohibition, if I ain't mistaken, we can go online. But you know what I mean. By that period of time, the prohibition was over. It wasn't, except, some states might, be like on certain days of the week. But the federal prohibition, that was over. That was over. But what we talking in other countries though, man, it wasn't no damn prohibition. In Europe, it wasn't no prohibition in Europe. They were selling alcohol then. They was, and then, of course, World War II, but you know what I mean. It wasn't no prohibition. As well as other countries around the world. It wasn't no prohibition. It was Europe. And then when they ended it, shoot, man. Shoot. Hey. Well, look, man, I'm finna get, because I'm going to come back on my next video. We're going to pick up right where we live, But, again, my name is Eric D. Johnson, also known BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county seat, in the state of Tennessee. Thank my family, my support for your continued courage support. And I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, for all the blessings and guidance He provides all with these natural disasters. Pray. We need to pray. Need to pray about these natural disasters. Because I live right here in the city of Memphis, county Shelby, state of Tennessee. And just like it was on the world news yesterday about the wind and the weather, yeah, right here in the city of Memphis yesterday and this weekend, yeah, power been, well, my power didn't go out, but other people here, right here in power outages and all that. Even today, people still having power outages and stuff like that. And so, and these wars that are being fought, pray that these wars end. So, I'm gonna come back on my next video, and we're gonna just pick up right where we left off. You know, like I said, next, but don't forget the names of God. See, that's the reason why. And you remember that Dead Sea Scroll? See, that's the reason why when I be reading them verses, I just want you to think about it though. You talking about that mitigated dualism and what they call themselves trying to get away with? You see the reason why when I read them verses, and when God said it was none, you catch the point. When you see mitigated dualism, that's the point you see it. Mitigated dualism, one up here and one down, and God and all that. Then it was two or more, but dualism is two. You see, God tell you, I'm the only one. There's no other God but me. And when you keep repeating it over and over again, there's no, I'm God. There's only one. And so then you start thinking about the names of God. It comes back to you. That's because you're not talking about two or more. It's only one God. The same God in the Old Testament is the same God in the New Testament. You take care of yourself, and I wish each and every one of you the very best.